A person can only love you from the place at which they know how to love. And who's to say that that's a great place? Who's to say that they know how to love? If they don't know God and they don't have an active, real relationship with God, an on-fire relationship with God where they're seeking Him daily, all the time, day and night, they will never properly know how to love you from the place that He's instructed them to and how He has told us to love each other. They will only ever be able to partially implicate that. They will only ever be able to partially implicate His love to you. But it will be mixed with what they think or what they deem or believe love is. And that is what tears up relationships. People loving you the way they want to be loved, for one, and people loving you the way that they think is right. And if they have a relationship with God, then they think that they know how you're supposed to be loved because, well, they have a relationship with God, so you can't tell them otherwise, which means that they think that they're acting out a godly love towards you. When anyone with eyes can clearly see, like, hey, in some scenarios, no, bro, you were wrong in that instance, and that is not how God would love us. Right? Obviously, we're never going to be God, but He does instruct us on how to be more like His Son Jesus, which is why He sent Jesus down as a prime example for us, because we're idiots and we need all the examples and all the assistance and all the help that we can get so that we can learn how to not be so horrible, honestly, because He knows that we are horrible and sinful and just ugly. There's like nothing good about us. So He brings down His Son so that we can have that connection and that relationship with Him, hoping that that would change us to make us more like Him so that we're able to start implementing who Jesus is in our life and spreading that to others so that others are able to experience that and get to know who Jesus is by way of us. And it's supposed to be a ripple effect. But that's not happening enough, and it's not happening enough because people don't take the time to do the necessary things that they should be doing for themselves, for their lives, in order for that to happen. If you're not positioning yourself in Christ every single day, but you claim to be a Christian, and then you claim to be a man of God or a woman of God, and then you get in a godly relationship and then eventually a godly marriage, and you're not like upholding the standard at which you need to operate in order to be able to maintain that godship in your marriage and in your relationships, well, my gosh, that's when problems arise. That's when you start loving from your own skewed view of what you think and believe and deem that love is. That's when your flesh starts to take over. The moment you stop feeding your spirit, that's when your flesh just wants to run rampant. And your flesh is strong. I don't know if you've realized this, but newsflash, we are sinful and fleshly and carnal. We like things that our flesh likes. We want the things our flesh wants. That's why it's easy for us to be in the world and do the worldly things and, not think twice. It feels very natural for us because that is who we are at our core. And God knew that, which is why He sent His Son Jesus down to change that so that we could be in a relationship in Him and created anew in Him. So for whatever reason, people are out here operating thinking that just because you have a relationship with God is enough. That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. You really don't know the proper Bible etiquette or relationship basics with Christ 101. Like you can't. because it literally only takes a second for you to fall victim. It literally only takes you a second to pop off. It literally only takes you a second, to get distracted by the things of the world, to be tempted, to fall victim to the enemy and his tricks and his lies and his schemes. Like, my goodness, if you read the Bible, God says, to always be on watch. He tells you to guard your heart above all else, because evil flows from it, but also life does. You know what I mean? Like, it is like really tricky stuff, like having a relationship with God, a real active relationship with God, and pursuing it in the appropriate manner and the way that he's instructed. Like, that's a full-time gig. And I'm not trying to make it sound like work, because honestly, it's a pleasure. It is pleasant. It becomes something that you like and enjoy, because the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, right? It becomes a part of your everyday life. It becomes something that you need, something that you want to do. Your cravings, they start to change. Your taste for things start to change. You just want to continue to do it more. And so it doesn't seem like something that, I got to do again. No, it's like, oh my gosh, I need this. You get hungry for it, right? You get more of a fervor, more of a passion. But you have to build that muscle. It's like anything. It's like going to the gym. It's like learning a new sport. It's like picking up a new trade. Like, literally, you have to do that. And if you don't get enough reps in, like, you're crazy to think that whatever you did yesterday or the day before yesterday or a week ago is going to be able to hold you over and sustain you for a new day, when you haven't even taken the time to properly position yourself as a man and a woman of God to receive what it is that you need for that day in order to be able to fight off the challenges and the temptation or whatever may be coming at you for that day. Let alone be able to love somebody properly, especially if you're in a marriage, because you know what? It's not about you anymore. It's not. You're not in marriage for yourself. You're in marriage for the other person and for God. And so if you're not doing the necessary things that you need to be doing as a man and a woman of God, you have failed for that day, literally. You're not covering, you're not protecting, you're not being what you're supposed to be for God and for them. You're not putting on the full armor of God for them, for that day. You have to do enough to be able to sustain you both, because you two are supposed to be one. You can't operate individually. And you know what? People want to operate individually. They get selfish and they get prideful, and that's when things get all messed up. It's like, if you understand what is expected of you in a marriage, it's like having a task list, like for work. Say you have a specific job, you go into work. There is a task sheet that have a number of different task items on there that you need to complete every day. Some in the morning, some in the afternoon, and some in the night before you get ready to leave whenever your shift is up. It is imperative that all these tasks get done at the time that they're supposed to for the specific day. And they have to be checked off and they have to be completed. Right? Do you get where I'm going with this? Your responsibility every day is to make sure that these things get done. And when they're done, you check them off. It helps the entirety of your day. It helps things properly function. It helps maintain order. It helps make sure that things are running efficiently and effectively for now and even for the future, right? It ensures the functionality, the sustainability, and the longevity of the business, of the work that you had to do for that day, of the entirety of the bigger picture. And so every day, you got to do these things. Well, it's the same thing. Men and women of God, my goodness gracious, wake up. How do you not get it? How do you not understand? There is a certain level that you have to be able to operate at as a man of God, as a woman of God, whether you are in a relationship or not. because that is what God has called us to as children who follow him and who have a relationship with him and who are currently growing and constantly growing with him. You know, this is the trajectory that we're on. It's a forward moving trajectory. Like, it's constantly evolving and expanding and getting bigger. And there is going to be more that is expected. And doing the bare minimum and thinking that you can do what you did yesterday and a week ago, you know, and giving that same effort, thinking that that's going to be enough, that's not enough. Like, where is the growth? Where is the accountability? Where is the understanding that, hey, there's a certain level that you need to rise to now? As you are growing in your relationship with God, you are growing in your spirituality with him also. And so the things that you knew and were able to understand and dissect and digest spiritually in the beginning of your relationship with him when you were a new or baby Christian is very different than what you're able to process and digest and understand spiritually, say, now that you've had a active relationship with him for, 10 years. You're more experienced Christian in your walk and in your faith with the Lord. And so the level at which you operated when you were just getting started, obviously, is going to be very different than the level you're operating at 10 years later, or it should be. And I think my whole issue here is that people want to continue to operate at a entry-level position with God and in their current roles when the role that they're playing in their life is requiring them to operate not at an entry-level role, but at a senior level role, at a managerial level role. That's when it starts to become an issue for me, because that lets me know that you're very stagnant in your faith and that you're only applying so much effort to maintaining your relationship with Christ, and that effort is just keeping you on the surface. That effort that you're putting forth is not elevating. It's not leveling up. It's not expanding. It's not growing. And at some point, you either have to be able to look at that and realize that you're doing the bare minimum when really the position that you're in is requiring you to operate at maximum capacity, especially if you are in a marriage and you are the man and you are the lead. Especially if you are a godly woman in a marriage and you are married to a godly man who is the head and who is the lead and who is operating as such. This is where it gets to be an issue. Is that the roles that people play in their godly marriages and godly relationships is that they're not both playing them to the same level at the same time. Let's look at it like this. Okay, you're both underneath an umbrella. The umbrella is God. Okay, that means that you both have a relationship with God. Now, say you both had a relationship with God for the last, all your life. Okay, let's just say 15, 20 years. That means that you're more experienced in your walk with God. That's what I will say. Now, let's be realistic. 15, 20 years, you've known God. Okay, but you've actually experienced him in a very real way in your adult age after you've grown up and got to figure out who God was for yourself outside of your family. And then, you stepped away from God and did your own little thing in the world for a little bit. All right. And then you got over that. And then you came back to him and you found him again. Okay. So let's see. maybe for 5 to 7 years now, you've really been walking with the Lord wholeheartedly. Boom. All right. You're still very experienced and developed, in the Lord. There are a lot of things that a lot of things that you've gone through that have allowed you to gain wisdom and discernment and understanding and revelation about yourself, about the world that you're in, about who God is, and just your life in general, right? So you should be able to operate and navigate in your relationship with Christ in a very natural way. You have built the muscle. You're doing pretty well in your walk with him. So then say you're in a relationship. This person also has a real relationship with God, but it looks a little different than yours. Say they've known him also for about 15 to 20 years. We got to subtract and divide. And at the end of that, maybe you get about 3 to 5 real years that they've taken the time out with God. Or so you thought. Or so they said. What you bring to the table spiritually and in your walk with God, and what they bring to the table spiritually and in their walk with God, naturally is going to be different. But what allows you both to operate on the same wavelength or the same spiritual level is the role that you play, but the effort that you're putting forth in this role. So we like to assume that just because people say that they have a relationship with Christ means that they're operating at the same level as us. But you know what's hard reality? A hard reality is knowing or realizing that the man or woman of God who you thought you were operating at the same level with, as it pertains to your relationship in Christ and where you are in your life and where you believe God is calling you, is actually not where that other person is at all. And that puts you guys at a spiritual deficit, because where one person is tenacious and on fire and aggressively, wholeheartedly, consistently taking their duty and their role and responsibilities serious as they should, especially if they're married, the other person is okay with just doing a little bit at a time and staying in that same role and staying in their comfort zone, when really they should be further ahead as it pertains to their walk with God. A lot of times people want certain things but aren't ready, and nor have they prepared themselves to be ready to fill that role, to be able to operate at that level. And that is something that only time and preparation can give you. Because you can get what you want, you can acquire that role, that position, but realize you don't have what it takes to sustain. You don't have the tools and the skills and the knowledge necessary in order to be able to handle all that comes when you're operating at a higher level. A lot of us do this. We think because we share similarities or we share familiarities with someone or something, and they speak our language, that we're compatible, or that we're like-minded, or that we're meant to be, we're soulmates, or we're best friends. But if you would only dig a little deeper, give it more time to observe and experience their fruits in the ways that they operate and act and think and talk about whatever it is that you guys have found common ground on, you will truly see what level they're operating at and what level you're operating at. And there's nothing wrong with being on different levels. But if you plan on attaching yourself to this person or doing life with this person to a certain extent, or building a relationship or a home or a marriage or a partnership with this person, it is imperative and truly important for you to be on the same wavelength as them and vice versa. It alleviates so much BS, saves you so much time and energy and disagreements and emotions. Do yourself a favor now. These things are only clearly recognizable because you have taken the time to connect with God, your Heavenly Father, who can give you these gifts that you cannot get on your own, first of all, to allow you to be able to see spiritually, not carnally, not physically, to see spiritually who someone really is, what a situation truly is, to see the authenticity behind whatever it is that you're thinking about pursuing. This is the difference, truly. You can't get enlightenment, you can't get revelation, you can't get any kind of epiphany like this on your own in any other way. God is the one who builds you up and gives you these gifts and gives you these abilities and allows you to have these skills to be able to operate at levels that you couldn't on your own. And this protects you and helps you and saves you and guides you and spares you and promotes you. This does all the things that you can't do for yourself. Being in alliance with God, that's the best thing anyone could ever do for themselves. It literally makes you better. To know yourself is to know God. God makes you more of what He has literally created you to become. But if you do not tap into Him, you will never, ever, ever be able to operate at your full potential and your full capacity. It's like taking a limitless pill. It's that simple. But the thing is, you have to do the work too. You have to consecrate yourself with the Lord. You have to isolate yourself with God. You got to go through the wilderness with Him. You got to put your time in and put your effort in, do the work. And you have to decide if you want to stay at the entry level or if you want to get to the top. And I don't know if you've put it together or not, but not everyone is called and meant to go with you. Some things and some people you got to leave behind and let go once you realize their MO, once you realize how they're operating and how they're moving. It's like nothing against you, like nothing personal, but you can't come with me. This isn't going to work. You got to stay in your lane. Stop lowering yourself to someone else's level. Just because, you love them? Just because, you have history with them? Just because, they were there for you when something happened? Here's a hard reality check right here. You don't owe nobody nothing. The only person who's got you like that, the only person you owe like that, the only person you need to be doing anything for like that, to be devoted to like that is God. Because I tell you what, God is the only reason why you're here. He's the only reason why you've been kept, why you've been spared, why you're still alive, why you're not in jail, why you're off of drugs, why you're not addicted to porn, why you fixed your eating disorder, why you became a better husband, why you decided to have that baby. God is the reason for it all. So if you're going to do anybody like that, you need to do it to him. You need to be in true devotion to him, because he's the one who's going to put you on game and let you know what's what and who's who, because we can't do that on our own. Take a look at our life. We've made it a mess. Friending people who didn't have our best interest in mind, who stabbed us in the back, being in relationships with people who played with our heart and didn't take us seriously and called it love. Going out of your way for people who would not do the same thing for you and end up getting you caught up and got you put in a bad predicament. And what? You've been to jail and now you've got a record, or now something's on your name. Give me a break. Who is your loyalty to? Who is your trust to? Who is your devotion to? Some of y'all are out of alignment and you need to get back into alignment. That's the only way that you're going to be able to start reaping some of the benefits that God has for you. That's the only way you're going to be able to start walking in your purpose, being fulfilled internally, and stop looking for external things to fill what only God can fill. That's going to be the answer to all of your problems. I put my life on that. You don't believe me? I dare you to do it for yourself. Try it. At the end of the day, there's just certain levels to spirituality because everyone is in a different walk and place in their life. And no matter how much you want to stay with someone because of whatever emotional attachment or even physical attachment that you have to them, if it doesn't align with the plan and purpose that God has for your life, and if it doesn't align with where you're operating spiritually and where you know that God is calling you to go, you got to cut ties. You got to let that go. You got to do the hard thing now, because I promise you, it'll pay off. God will see that it does. And he'll bless you with even more than you thought you had. He'll bless you with better than you could have ever imagined. He'll do more for you than you thought someone else did or could or would or should. He makes it all make sense. You just got to trust. And I know that's hard, but I mean, we've done a lot more for a lot less. And we've trusted all kinds of things and all kinds of people who weren't loyal to us and didn't show up for us in the end. But God, he will never leave you nor forsake you. He only wants what's best for you. You just got to connect with him so that he can show you that. That's all I had to say, y'all. I know it was a little heavy, but it's what we needed. And it's where I'm at, too. There are some things that you have to say goodbye to in order for God to bless you with the things that he wants you to say hi to. And just know the pain that comes with it. Well, God's strong enough and loving enough to be able to cover it all and to heal you from it. So he's for you. I pray this was able to bless you. I pray you're able to take something from this. Be encouraged. It gets easier as it gets harder. It's definitely worth it. Following God is the best thing I've ever done. I highly recommend it. Be easy. Be love. Be light. Be real. Thanks for listening to Ready or Not with Visuel. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.